Hello everyone, Radiant Vanguard here, giving you my deck profile for Nirvana, Mahar Edition, that I use for BCS 2022. Starting us straight off with the most pretty, epic Sunrise Egg. Not the surprise egg, Sunrise. And of course, to continue the ride line, we have to go with Reno, that has the Vanguard skill that when she attacks, she gains +2, making her a 10k attacker. But you know, the most important thing is, when Ryu rides on top of her, you can search for Trickstar. Speaking of Ryu, there she is. She also has the +2k ability, and when you ride Chakrabarti Divine Dragon Nirvana on top of her, you can pay a Soul Blast and search the original Virina. Then of course, we have the good boy Nirvana himself, who for a discard you can recur grade 0 from your drop, or on attack counterblast 1 and give all of your units with the Overdress ability and itself +10k. Straight away, a very decent, consistent ride line actually, giving you everything you need to get into the Overdress mechanic. But to make it even better, you gotta have the big dragon, Mahar Nirvana. It's a grade 4, it has triple drive, has the same base power as 13k, but it has a powered up ability. So, of course, it has the same ability that Nirvana has with a twist, counterblast 1, Soul Blast a Nirvana from your hand or soul, then you can recur a grade 0, and of course you get to give your opponent 1 damage. Of course, if they're at 4 or higher, that ability won't activate. Besides that, if you have a unit in the Overdress state, so not with the Overdress ability, in the Overdress state, then you can give the front row +10k. Now the unit you want in the Overdress state is Esperidia. However you want to pronounce it, it's very, very difficult, but you play 4 copies of the big Virina. Basically, he can only overdress on top of Trickstar, and when he overdresses, you take all of the overdress units or Trickstars from your drop zone and put it into his original dress. Then you can, when your Vanguard attacks, pay 1 Soul Blast to restand him, and he gains power for each unit in his original dress. That's +5, and that can stack immensely. Of course, this should be your end game. If you can restand without overdressing, without having any trick stars, you can do that. It's useful in premium as well for that reason. But you need to know what his main focus and his main power advantage is. Now for the rest of our grade 3s, we have 2 Expectas. A lot of people will probably not be expecting this one, pun intended. But he can overdress over a unit in the overdress state, and he gains the power of every original dress normal power. That does also count Trickstar. He can overdress over Esperidia, he can overdress over himself, he can overdress over Arcs, he can overdress over the original Virina. His other ability is when he attacks, you can counterblast 1, give himself +15k and a crit, and then after that he Soul Blasts everything out, making him a basic unit, basic beater. Just a normal boy again. But he can be very useful. So it's always good to have that extra Virina name. And of course, you know, the crit isn't too bad. Then the best Virina, besides Esperidia, is Arcs. Simple ability is when he overdresses, you counterblast 1, draw 2, and he gains +5k. It's that simple. He's amazing. You always want him in your opening hand. Your opponent hates to see it, and you love to see it. Then of course, we need him. He's in the ride line for a reason, mentioned as Virina. The normal one, he isn't that useful for his own ability, costing 2 soul. You don't want to spend that, but his overdress ability is that he gains 10k on attack. And for the rest, he's a good discard fodder. He can be a good early attacker, but you mainly want him for that, you know, search and Esperidia power up. So taking us straight away to the grade 1s, we have 4 perfect guards, the new ones since set 1. They're handy in a pinch, and you hope to see them with the arcs draws. So I don't think I need to explain any PGs. Now this might be a bit confusing for a lot of people. I'm still running Ximena. You could be running Amelia, but personally I don't get lucky with finding Esperidia. And that's why I want to pay that extra counterblast. I want to check the top 7. I want to search for him. If you want to run Amelia, you could. I would advise removing Ximena for that if you want to do that. But as a lot of people may have heard on Twitter or anywhere else, I kept checking for when we decide who goes first. It was always me. I always went first. During testing, I usually go first. I can never use Amelia. If I use Amelia, it's for the rewrite, for the extra damage ping. But I also always rush my opponent, meaning that she's basically never useful for me. So if you play a different, style of gaming or a different strategy, Amelia is a good card. She's just not for me. And Ximena, either she's a discard fodder when you don't need to find any, but she can be a booster. So then the other unit that I wouldn't advise taking out is Retsuji. Now, I have heard complaints about him as well, but you usually have at least 1 CB to spare, and he refunds it anyway. But he can recur your Esperidia, he can recur your arcs, he can recur whatever you need. So it's always a safety net. You never know when the game could go south, and it's just nice to have him. If we ever get an option that's better or a good alternative for him, sure, we can replace him. But right now, I feel very secure having this guy in my deck. And of course, everybody's favorite little totem, Trickstar, 4 copies. You want to see him. He's handy against the prison matchup. He can't be retired by anything, so he's a good boy. He gets searched out. He can surprisingly hit big if you check an OT on your first turn, so you never know. I would run him at 4 copies. I spent a while running 3 of him, but I went back on that because he's just, you really want to see this guy. Then for our triggers, we'll quickly go over it. Running 4 draw triggers, 1 over trigger, 3 normal crits, 4 effect crits. You want to see these, call these out, and get extra soul because, as I said, we're not running Amelia. She doesn't go into the soul, so we need someone else to go into the soul. And that plus 2k can come in clinch, so you never know. And lastly, 4 basic heals. Now, the reason why we're not running the Blitz order, we're running a grade 4 deck, so it's really not that advantageous for us. And of course, normal PGs are also useful. Why are we not running effect heals? Honestly, because I prefer this heal. That's basically it. So if you have any questions about the deck, if you want to know how the tournament went for BCS Mouveau, you can definitely check out my Twitter. The link will be in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next one.